As Georgians get back on the road, it is important to remember that our children are the most precious cargo we carry. Don't let life's distractions end your day in tragedy. When you get out of your vehicle, check the front and back seats and look again. Also, lock the doors to your vehicle, even when you're at home. It only takes a few minutes for the inside of a vehicle to reach deadly temperatures. So please, never leave a child alone in a vehicle for any reason. If you see a child alone in a vehicle, call 911 immediately and seek help. We can all make a difference and maybe save a life. I'm joining the Georgia Department of Early Care and Learning and asking that you always look again.
And we can tell you that he has been a big supporter, he and First Lady Marty Kemp, of the Look Again campaign. And we appreciate everything that they do in bringing attention to this very important topic. This is our first virtual news conference that we have done in this manner. Normally, we would welcome you to the Capitol, maybe the north wing of the Capitol outside the governor's office, or to the Sloppy Floyd Tower, where our offices, our Atlanta offices are located in downtown Atlanta. But with everything going on, the pandemic, and even though we're feeling much more confident and things are looking great right now, we just felt like it would be a safer route to take to do this in a virtual format today. And so we do want to thank you for joining us in this format. This is our 8th annual Look Again campaign. My name is Reg Griffith. I'm the Chief Communications Officer with the Georgia Department of Early Care and Learning. And today you're going to be hearing from some folks who are not only concerned about this topic, but are true experts in the field. First, we're going to hear from our commissioner, Amy Jacobs, who will be sharing some thoughts with you and some statistics around the role that we play here at DECAL with preventing pediatric vehicular heat stroke. We're also going to be hearing from Lisa Dawson, Director of Injury Prevention with the Georgia Department of Public Health. Great partners with DECAL in this cause and many others. And then we're honored to have Dr. Andrew Grunstein, Professor of Geography at the University of Georgia in Athens, where he specializes in weather, climate, and the effects on human health. So we're all together today for the proclamation of a simple message: look again. Leaving children unattended in vehicles is the leading cause of non-traffic vehicular deaths across our nation. And outside of car crashes, heat stroke is the #1 killer of children. The Georgia Department of Early Care and Learning is responsible for licensing and regulating the child care industry in Georgia. And we've made the health and safety of Georgia's youngest citizens a top priority for our agency each and every day. The last time a child died after being left in a hot car while in a Georgia child care program was 10 years ago. Her name was Jasmine Green, and she was 2 years old. Since that day, we have greatly increased our focus on transportation safety and doing everything humanly possible to prevent what happened to Jasmine from ever happening again to another child in Georgia. We also dedicate this year's Look Again campaign to the memory of Jasmine Green and remembering her family during this very difficult time. It was an honor for me to speak with her father soon after joining the agency back in 2012 in our first Look Again video. And we wanted to share that with you in marking this 10th anniversary of Jasmine's passing.
They went on a field trip and a child was dropped off during the field trip. Their count said 12. 13 kids came back, 12 left, 13 came back, and unfortunately my daughter was the one that they missed. And they found my daughter inside the van, non-responsive, and I was seeing it on the news, on the TV, where it's like toddler left from daycare van, and they hadn't put up a picture yet, but they were study saying Jasmine Green, Jasmine Green. And I'm like, whoa, you know, so very staining, very tattooed type memory something that hurts a lot, and I'll never ever get rid of that memory out of my mind. You gotta continue to look on these buses. You gotta bring these people's kids home. Like, there's no tomorrow without a child. Please, just look again.
That was Charles Green, and what a story. And for him to be able to stand in his front yard and talk with us was an amazing thing. But his feelings are the same as ours, and that is that we never want to see that happen to a child ever again. And so the message echoes year after year for us to look again. You know, you might say, haven't you guys done this before? Is it still even an issue? And the data, and we're data driven here at DECAL, it says yes. And we need your help in carrying this message to the people of Georgia through traditional media, social media, word of mouth, whatever you can do in your sphere of influence. So let's get started. We will allow time for questions of our speakers at the end, but as we continue with today's program, please feel free to send us your questions using the chat box in the Zoom feature. We're also using technology to ask you some questions. So please take out your device and point it at the QR code on your screen, or you can go to Slido, SLIDO.com. I love technology. You can go there on your mobile or your desktop and enter the code 634397. 634397. We're going to start with a simple question just to make sure we're all connected. And Houston, we don't have a problem. What city are you watching from this morning? What city are you watching from this morning? And if technology serves us right, we're going to begin to see, oh, look at this, Marietta, Lawrenceville, Noonan, Decula, Metter. I love Metter. You don't hear from Metter very often, but that's very cool. Peachtree Corners, someone wrote in the chat box. That's good. So this is the way the technology will work. We'll ask a couple of questions as we go along, but it'll give us a little word cloud here. And hopefully everybody is plugged in. Got a lot of folks from Marietta, clearly, watching today. Kennesaw is on board. Peachtree Corners, Atlanta, Paulding. This is great. This is kind of a simple question here to just give you an idea of how this works. But good to have everyone on from the Homer is checking in. Michelle, nice to have you with us today. I love it. Everybody's proud of their hometown. Give them a little shout out here. This is terrific. Thanks for tuning in. And we know this is a busy time. You know, we're getting down toward very, very close to the Memorial Day weekend. And we know that technically that starts, you know, here in Atlanta, people start taking their Memorial Day weekend sometime in February. And so the airport is crowded, the roads are crowded, but thank you for carving out this time to be with us today. We'll check back in on our slider questions in a moment. We're also very excited to say that we're on Facebook Live today. I want to thank Jerry Brown of our communications team, as well as our IT team, for helping us set that up. So all of our Facebook friends, about 20,000 of you who check in with us on a regular basis, thanks for joining us on Facebook Live. And we'll be asking you more questions in just a moment. Well, with two children of her own, this issue is very important to the commissioner of the Georgia Department of Early Care and Learning. She has made this a priority each year since joining the agency in June of 2014. It is my pleasure to introduce to you Commissioner Amy Jacobs.
Thank you, Reg, and good morning, everyone. We appreciate you joining us today. As Reg mentioned, this is our 8th year sponsoring the Look Again campaign here in Georgia, and we are occasionally asked, are you doing this again? Is this really an issue? And while the numbers are improving, the data indicates this is still a problem and we need reminders, especially as we enter the hot summer months. Just like we all need reminders when we are carrying children in our cars and trying not to let distractions cause a tragedy that is completely preventable. Look Again is a message to families, childcare providers, and the general public that creates greater awareness and understanding on how to prevent pediatric vehicular heat stroke. Our partners at Safe Kids Worldwide use the acronym ACT: Avoid Heat Stroke, Create Reminders, and Take Action. Thousands of children in Georgia are cared for daily by childcare providers, most of whom regularly transport children. If there's a silver lining that can be found in this pandemic, it might be that most families have stayed closer to home, had less complicated schedules, and less distractions. Some statistics to consider nationally: last year, 24 children died from pediatric vehicular heat stroke, thankfully none in Georgia, and that's down from the previous year's total of 53. Tragically, a child in North Carolina recently died from vehicular heat stroke and became our first victim in 2021. So you may be wondering, how did DECAL get involved in this effort? Well, when DECAL receives reports of children left in vehicles by providers, we investigate each incident. During fiscal year 2020, 9 children were left in vehicles by childcare providers statewide, and in fiscal year 2021, 2 children have been left. While these numbers have definitely improved overall, we cannot and will not become complacent. With 35 child deaths from 1998 to 2020, Georgia ranks 33rd in the nation for incidence of pediatric vehicular heat stroke. And I know we're all strong competitors, but this is a category where we would like to come in last. Also, I think it's important to note this is not a problem exclusive to childcare providers. In fact, more often it happens while children are in the care of their own family or friends. And so today's warning goes not only to child care programs, centers, and family child care learning homes, but to families, communities, neighborhoods, schools, places of worship. Anywhere children gather, are cared for, and are being transported. That's why, again, this year, we are reminding the general public to never leave a child alone in a vehicle, even for a minute. And when you've checked your vehicle to make sure everyone arrives safely and is out of the vehicle, look again. And be sure to close and lock the doors, because cars, trucks, and vans are like playgrounds to our children. Another point of clarification: vehicular heat stroke is a year-round problem. It can happen even when temperatures are in the upper 50s, but it becomes particularly serious over the summer months when the average temperature in Georgia reaches 88 degrees and higher. In just 10 minutes, the temperature inside your car can rise 19 degrees. Think about that. We believe that lives will be saved if these simple warnings are heard and heeded. Technology is helping in this effort, from sensors in car seats and in vehicles to phone apps, which now have reminders to check the back seat when you reach your destination. Thanks again for your time and attention to this important issue. I look forward to any questions you might have later on. Reg, back to you.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Jacobs. And let's ask another question of our audience today using our Slido technology. What is the leading cause of non-vehicular deaths across the nation? What's your best guess? There are no really wrong answers because a lot of different factors come into play, but what is the leading cause of non-vehicular deaths across the nation? Let's see as folks come in with some answers. And as they are, we'll recognize some shout outs to some hometowns. St. Simon's Island. Marcy, we're all jealous of you. Doreen in Savannah, we're jealous of you as well. Bridget in Grovetown, Georgia, saying hello via our chat feature. Anyone have any guesses? And I'm hoping that the technology is working for us here. ACT is a good reminder. Absolutely. Oh, I think maybe we had the different question. Is that what? Okay. So, what are some ways you can remind yourself you are transporting a child? That's I was out of order here on my script. Leave your work bag in the back seat. Great idea. Put your purse in the back seat. Absolutely. Sorry for getting the wrong question there. I thought you guys were very, very quiet for a moment. Anyone else with a suggestion? Some ways to remind yourself you are transporting a child. The commissioner mentioned the technology that's available using your Waze. Tie a ribbon on your steering wheel. That's a great idea. Great idea. Very low tech and very easy to do. Talk to the child throughout the ride. Absolutely important. Great suggestion, which we should be doing anyway, because that time we need to capture. And as you know, the parent and the family are the child's first teacher. And you can capture that great time with them. Someone said, put your purse, leave one shoe next to your child. I've heard that, and that sounds like a great suggestion to me, because who could go on with their day if they only have one shoe on? So I love that. I think there's a lot of truth to that. Although there are days that I might just keep going, but no, one shoe in the back is probably a good idea. These are great suggestions. Thank you. And keep them coming, because we love to remind folks through our social media throughout the summer with our Look Again campaign of ways to remember. All of these are very, very important. So thank you for your feedback. Well, throughout the COVID-19 pandemic, DECAL has worked side by side with Dr. Kathleen Toomey and the Georgia Department of Public Health on guidance for childcare programs and details around vaccine eligibility for our pre-K and childcare teachers and staff. They are great partners year in and year out, but particularly, and I hate to say it, but in this unprecedented year, DPH has been such a strong partner with DECAL, and we appreciate everything that they've done, truly moving day by day in ways that we've never really worked together before. And so this has been a crazy year, but we have really been encouraged by the camaraderie and the collaboration with the Department of Public Health. And we're excited to partner with them as well every year on Look Again. And it's my pleasure to introduce to you a good friend, Lisa Dawson. She is director of the Injury Prevention Program with the Georgia Department of Public Health, to bring her perspective today. Lisa.
Thank you, Reg. That was so wonderful. And thanks to all the folks who are participating. That was really incredibly thoughtful, some of the things that were being suggested, especially for folks who don't transport children all the time. Being out of routine and in routine are kind of two different things. And we're going to talk just a little bit more about that, but really fantastic suggestions. There's no silver bullet. There's no one size fits all. So all suggestions welcome. So just again, thank you to Reg and Commissioner Jacobs and all the staff at the Georgia Department of Early Care and Learning. It's really a privilege to be here with you guys and with all our colleagues in childcare and climate science to talk about the preventable heat stroke incidents with children. We have been honored to work with many agencies and organizations each year to remind the driving public of this hazard. Anyone who owns a vehicle and anyone who transports children will hopefully hear us. Kids getting into or being left in cars can be deadly due to the rising temperatures of a hot, closed car. Small bodies cannot regulate their temperature via sweating the way adults do. It's just physiologically not possible. Between 2010 and 2019, 21 children in Georgia have died from being left in or climbing into a hot car. Georgia ranks in the top 5 in the nation for hot car deaths. And as Commissioner Jacobs stated, the numbers have been declining, but we always have the opportunity for improvement. We have not gotten to zero yet. We believe we can get there. With attention like this press conference to this issue and vigilance, we can get there. There are 3 ways to minimize risk. One is by making the environment more secure. Keep your car locked in your driveway and teach children the areas in and around cars are not for play. Much like a hot stove or a busy intersection, it's a no-go zone. 25% of children who died in hot cars got into the cars by themselves. Little kids, especially, are able to get into parked vehicles, but lack the dexterity, size, and strength to simultaneously manipulate the handles and push heavy doors to get out again. Vehicles are designed for adults. Second way to minimize risk, by giving yourself, as the driver, as many of you have already put in the Slido and in the chat, a reminder in case you do get distracted, because life intervenes. More than 50% of children were mistakenly left in vehicles. Something that is a part of your normal exit the car routine, like you all were putting in the chat, purse, briefcase, computer, will help counter life's distractions. Multitasking is really we used to be really proud of it. But it's really kind of the enemy to being able to focus on what we're doing. Working in transportation safety, we really want you to focus on the road when you're driving. But multitasking refers to the ability to manage multiple responsibilities at once, focusing on one task while keeping track of others. And when we engage in multitasking, what we're actually doing is task switching. We really don't do it as well as we think. In rigorous research, 97.5% of people fail multitasking tests. While technology can help, and really appreciate bringing that to the forefront, a visual inspection and a head count like decal is requiring for childcare is really the best way to go. Finally, the last thing I would suggest is it's a village. Let's coordinate with folks to make sure that kids get to where they're supposed to be. If my husband's taken my child to Grams's house, and I want Grams to call me if they haven't shown up by the time appointed. That's really, coordination can really help out too. So depending on those other folks to help back us up is really key. I just want to thank everybody for the opportunity to participate. It's a fantastic collaboration. Really grateful to Reg and all the staff at DECAL.
Thanks, Lisa. I think the first time we met was when this campaign began several years ago, and we talk about it all the time, about ways of trying to get people to really put this in the forefront of their minds. We have seen, as the commissioner mentioned before, a drop in the numbers, which we believe is related to the pandemic, with families not being so preoccupied and not multitasking as much. And we'll take that along with the silver lining, as we mentioned, but we've got to keep it in the forefront, because we know we're going to slowly get back to normal, and it's going to be a challenge. So thank you to everyone for making this an important issue. We're going to try another question, and this will be our last one for today on the Slido scale and survey. How can you help get the word out about Look Again? How can you, and we've got some childcare providers, we've got some childcare advocates, we've got our media folks, share on the family app. Absolutely. Social media, great suggestion. Repost messages on social media. Let me tell you, reposting is huge, huge. And so, yeah, to take that message and move it along, absolutely important. Social media, very important. Obviously, you guys have a list of followers. Doreen says word of mouth. Word of mouth still works, folks. It still does. Even in a high-tech world like we live in, word of mouth to some families that you encounter, that you come into contact with every day. Please just remind them. And it's not just a summertime thing. We can't stress that enough. We bring it up in the summer because it becomes much more serious and threatening. But this is a problem with 60 and 70 degree temperatures year round because of the temperature inside the car. Talk to your community, share it in a biweekly newsletter. Absolutely. Community partners. We love our community partners here at DECAL. We have community coordinators across the state, because DECAL really is a grassroots organization. Childcare is a grassroots organization. So we appreciate that. Share with your child's licensed childcare program. Absolutely. Nothing wrong with reminding them and just checking in with them. Hey, are you following the rules? They will appreciate the opportunity to tell you that they are, and that they are part of the Look Again campaign. Tell your friends. These are all great suggestions. 12 excellent suggestions from everyone. You know, we all have our sphere of influence. And so for you, that might be in your community. It might be a homeowners association. It might be your church. It might be a community club. Wherever you can do what you can do, and that helps spread the word. Organic is a term you hear a lot with social media because things do sort of take on this organic appeal and they start spreading. And that's what we want to see happen with the Look Again message. So thank you to everyone for participating in that question. Some great responses today. Well, for 8 years now, we've worked with Safe Kids Worldwide on the issue of pediatric vehicular heat stroke. And through Safe Kids, we met our next speaker, Dr. Andrew Grunstein, who turned out to be a nationally known expert in this field right in our own backyard, even in Athens, Georgia. Go Dogs. And you know what a big fan the governor is of the UGA campus and the Bulldogs and everything. So Dr. Grundstein is a great addition to our program this year. He is a professor in the Department of Geography at the University of Georgia. He has a PhD in climatology from the University of Delaware and has become a leading expert in weather, climate, and its effect on human health. And that's where this comes up in this issue today. Dr. Grunstein has done extensive work in the area of pediatric vehicular heat stroke. So, Andrew, welcome to the program today.
Well, thanks for having me. And it's kind of to echo what Lisa said, it's a real pleasure to be here to talk about this extremely important topic. And in my capacity, I've been studying how hot cars can get. We all know, as the commissioner said, that in 10 minutes it can heat up 19 degrees. In an hour it can be over 40 degrees. And you think about a typical summer day in Georgia could be in the 90s. So these cars can get extremely hot very quickly. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about why. I think we all know that those of us who drive, we go to the car and it's way hotter than outside. Well, that works because the cars operate like a greenhouse. The sunlight passes in and gets absorbed by the surfaces in the car, and then that gives off energy and it gets trapped, and you get these very rapid rises in temperature. Cars can be dangerous all the year round though for heat, so we always have to be really vigilant. One of the things I did want to mention, we've been talking a little bit about how as we start returning to normal, my colleague Jan Nolan and I did some work on, we knew that this year had only 24 deaths, which is still too many, but is far better than it has been last year. There was previous years over 50. And one of the things we noticed, we looked at the breakdown of this different circumstances, and people were leaving their kids in the car less. They were forgetting their kids in the cars less frequently. And we think that's because they were driving less. They weren't going to, taking their kids to school and so forth. But the kids that got trapped in the car at home stayed about the same. So these are all things we need to be vigilant about. But one of the things we're concerned about is as things open up and we start returning to taking our kids to school and so forth, we really need to be mindful. Our routines are changing again, and we really need to be very mindful of looking again and checking for our kids in the back seats of the car.
Absolutely. And we appreciate Dr. Grunstein being with us today. We're going to open it up for any questions that you guys may have, things that we have not covered in today's program. You can use the chat box for your questions. And while you're putting your questions together, we do want to share with you a public service announcement that we've produced for this year's Look Again campaign. We will be sharing this on social media. And as you pointed out, many of you in the survey just a moment ago, please share that with your family and friends and others on your social media. I want to thank Jerry Brown for putting a lot of work into not only today's call and virtual news conference, but also producing this PSA. Jerry is an Emmy award-winning broadcast journalist that we were fortunate enough to find, and he joined our team after covering sports for a long time. And so I don't know if it's as exciting, but it certainly is challenging, and we appreciate his work every day. So let's share our public service announcement with you now that we'll be using throughout the summer to remind everyone to look again.
We have all seen the stories.
Shoppers helped save a baby left in a hot car.
He forgot and left his 22-month-old son in a hot car while he went to work.
Video we got of a child being rescued from a hot car.
Look Again is a simple message with a huge meaning.
You missed my child for 3 hours.
We never want any parents to feel that type of pain again. We want anyone who is transporting children, whether it's families, child care providers, whomever, to just take time and look again. No time of year or for any amount of time is it good to leave a child in a vehicle alone, especially during the hot summer days in Georgia where vehicles can be deadly for children left alone. We all know that life can be hectic and stressful. This past year is a testament to that. That's why Look Again is a simple yet powerful reminder so that these preventable tragedies do not happen again. It's a simple request. When you get out of your vehicle, please check the front and back seats, and before you walk away, look again. Also, lock your doors, even when you are at home. If you see a child left alone in a vehicle, immediately call 911. I'm Commissioner Amy Jacobs of the Georgia Department of Early Care and Learning, asking you to look again.
And once again, dedicating our program this year to Jasmine Green, the memory of Jasmine Green. 10 years ago, we lost her in Clayton County. And her dad shared the story a moment ago, but they went on a field trip to a Chuck E. Cheese, and 12 children left. And one family joined them while on the trip. So that was 13. And when the bus returned to the child care program, they counted 12. Thinking that was all of them, and Jasmine had curled up and gone to sleep on the bus. And so we dedicate this program, this campaign to Jasmine and her memory. All right, let's see if we have any questions. Cindy Kicklighter is from our nutrition team, but we draft her for things like this, special projects, other duties as assigned, as they say. And Cindy, do we have any questions coming in on the chat?
We do have a couple of questions. Lisa Dawson says, if you see a child unattended in a hot car, call 911. And Reg, I just thought that you could expand on that, how it is okay to call 911 if you see a child left in a vehicle.
Sure. And Commissioner, I'll defer to you as well. I know we've had this conversation with our state patrol officials, local police, and they have told us that, yes, they absolutely encourage you to call 911 if you see a child left in a vehicle. And we all know the tendency is to, well, it's none of my business. I won't get involved because they're probably going to come right back out again. Most parents should thank you for bringing it to their attention. But yes, Commissioner, anything you'd like to add on that? I know we've had this conversation through the years.
Yeah, I completely agree, Reg, and I would just ask everyone, if you do see a child, call 911. Don't hesitate. I think from what Dr. Grundstein told us and Lisa told us about how children's body temperature does not regulate like an adult's does through sweating, and then the inside of a car can become so hot because of kind of the greenhouse effect that you just really can't waste a minute. So it may be a little uncomfortable, but if you can save a life, it's worth calling 911 and let the police handle it.
Right
from that point.
We've got a great visual. I don't know if we have it at the ready, but Jerry, do we have the video of the that sort of showed the demonstration of the car and the way the temperature rises? And Dr. Grunstein, I know this is something that you produced. Maybe you can walk us through this.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is actually from my colleague Jan Knoll's website. It shows the sunlight coming into the car, going through the windows. It heats up the interior, and with the windows up, that heat builds up, and you can see outside it might be 80 degrees, but within an hour it's well over, it's over 120 degrees, which is extremely dangerous for a child.
It's amazing how quickly that happens. Today's high temperature is 88 degrees. That's what's forecast. And in 10 minutes, that temperature inside the car can raise to 107 degrees. So an 88 degree day, little breeze, you're feeling comfortable, but your car can heat up much faster. And Andrew, you were telling me before we started the news conference today that you tried this with your own car right there on campus. And what happened?
Yeah, absolutely. I left my car out in Athens on a typical June day, and I left it out for a few hours, and it got up to almost 170 degrees.
Unbelievable. So, yeah, you hear about this. I think the most heartbreaking story I've heard in the years of covering this was an incident in Macon where a nurse that worked for a hospital was in a rush to get to work, left her child in the car, and her child died during the hot summer months in a car parked outside of a hospital. Think about the irony there of her rushing to get to work to help save lives. And yet in her rush, her child died. Heartbreaking. Cindy.
Yes, we do have another question. Will we have stickers for car bumpers this year to help with reminders? Jessica asked that.
Jessica, we do have stickers. If you will email me, and it's reg.griffin@cal.ga.gov. We will try to get some, and if everybody can mute your mic, we're hearing a little bit of feedback. But yeah, email me. We can get you some stickers. We have not been as strong on the giveaways this year, the posters, the keychains and whatnot, because we weren't in person. But we do have stickers left over there, window clings that we can get you, as well as maybe some posters. And maybe we should give away a few T-shirts too on our social media one day. Cindy.
Okay, I have a question for Dr. Grundstein from Michelle Wright. Is there a time frame, i.e. which months here in Georgia are worse for cars getting too hot for kids and pets for that matter?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think that the hazard gets worse as we get into the heart of the summer, but Georgia, it can be warm through the spring and even into the fall. So I think in Georgia, we really do need to be vigilant all year round, but it especially gets bad as it gets hotter as we get into the summer.
All right. Anything else?
We kind of went over this, but maybe there's something else you can expand on. Why are these conditions more dangerous for children than adults? Is there anything else you want to add?
Well, I don't know if anyone else wants to jump in there, but the idea is with children, their bodies can heat up more quickly. And also the smaller children are strapped in there. They can't remove clothing. And obviously they're unable to get themselves out of the car. So they're at very high risk for this compared to an adult.
I can also chime in. When the human body is exposed to extreme heat, there are several processes the body uses to maintain temperatures, like sweating, increasing thirst. And during heat stroke, these mechanisms actually start to fail. Once the body gets to 107 degrees, there is a serious organ damage and potential failure. And at 120 degrees, this process is simply faster. I'm not going to get into some of the other things from our friends at Children's Healthcare of Atlanta, but Dr. Manisha Argwal has many of these details if you want to understand the physiological process.
There have been some people in other parts of the country adults that have demonstrated this, and they've done videos of where they have sat inside a car. I know some law enforcement folks have done this and described what they were feeling even as an adult. And adults are more resilient to this than young children. But within just a few minutes, you can begin to tell. And I'm not encouraging you to do that. But if you want to get a feel for it, just wait. One day this week, maybe just sit inside the car for a little while. You'll see how quickly you begin to feel uncomfortable, especially those of us that have become addicted to air conditioning. And if you're like me, I love my air conditioning. So, but that's not even safe. Let me preface that by saying, don't think you can leave your child in the car with the air conditioning on. That's not a good idea. And we haven't really mentioned it, but we're having a lot of serious problems around the state with carjackings. and what they call slider crimes, with people just coming in behind the wheel and stealing a car. And every now and then you'll hear a story about a child left in the vehicle while mom or dad or a family member, they were pumping gas or went into the convenience store or whatever. What a tragic. How would you deal with something like that if you had made that mistake? So look again. Applies to a lot of different scenarios, and we just want to encourage you to do that on a regular basis. Bridget says the press conference has been very enlightening. Thank you. Production and visuals top notch. Well, thank you. We appreciate that. That's always good to hear. Any other questions here real quick before we wrap up? We don't want to take too much of your time. We know you got other things to do, and as I said, it's a busy heading toward a holiday weekend, but we want you to know that this is a message that cannot be said enough. So let me thank our panel, Commissioner Jacobs, Lisa Dawson from the Georgia Department of Public Health, Dr. Grunstein from the University of Georgia. Thank you so much for being with us today. You add expertise to this topic beyond what we can bring, and we appreciate that. We want to ask you, the audience, and our media friends to please help us spread the word about Look Again by sharing our video. We will have that up on our website for you as soon as possible at decal.ga.gov. Also on our Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube pages. Also want to give a plug to the website that Dr. Grundstein mentioned. It's called noheatstroke.org. They probably do the best job of documenting in real time cases of specifically pediatric vehicular heat stroke. And they have the news stories, the links, they have the breakdown of the age of the child, the temperature at the time, the circumstances involved. They've done an incredible job since really the late 90s. They've got a lot of information on there, great data. So definitely use noheatstroke.org for the latest information on that. We appreciate the attention that each of you will bring to this critical issue of safely transporting children here in Georgia. On behalf of Commissioner Jacobs and everyone here at the Georgia Department of Early Care and Learning, again, thank you for your time. Thank you for what you're going to do. And throughout the summer and year round, please don't forget to always look again. Have a great day.